Welcome to the Robin's Nest. Today we're going to talk a little open wheel racing, a little rally, and a little NASCAR. So if you would, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video, the works. Let's get into it. So I think the worst kept secret at this point, well, it's not really a secret. It's just matter of fact that Liam Lawson has been a complete, let's say, failed experiment for Red Bull in the second car, teammate to Max Verstappen. For those who don't follow Formula One, he's technically a rookie, but he ran 11 Grand Prix going into the season. He ran for Racing Bulls or RB Visa Cash App, whatever the nonsense was called last year, but the second Red Bull team. He ran for them last year after Ricardo broke a finger. Anyways, filled in for him. Had some decent runs, but this year, man, has been awful. Absolutely awful. I mean, he qualified last, if I'm not mistaken, in Australia. Qualified last in China. Sprint race wasn't much better in China. And so, the hot rumor is that Yuki Tsunoda is going to take his place. Maybe as soon as Japan, which it would make sense considering that Yuki's Japanese and they're going to Japan, kind of reward him for being with Red Bull for sticking it out as long as he has. Honestly, he never should have been looked over in favor of Liam Lawson. I don't know what the trepidation is there if, Red Bull's just, if they haven't liked his attitude, because, he gets a little hostile on the radio during races, gets a little worked up. Or if there's a genuine fear that he will be able to eventually either A, run with Max or outrun Max. Of course, they don't want that. Jos Verstappen proved Max's daddy. I think it was a couple years ago, when Sergio won a couple races and Jos lost his mind, claiming that they're giving Sergio better stuff than Max and all that kind of nonsense. So that that's going to be what comes out of that camp if Yuki were to show up and run with Max or outrun him. Can't have that because Max is superstar. If it hadn't been for Max, I think it's pretty obvious that Red Bull would be a mid-pack team at best. So, it's going to be interesting. Also, with as bad as everyone's run in that car, the second car, it's also kind of interesting. It'd be interesting to see if Yuki can actually do anything with it. Or Max was asked about it, and he said that, he didn't want it to happen because he didn't want another driver's career ruined by not being able to handle that car. And, you kind of see that side of it too. But I think also what the Liam Lawson experiment has proven was that Sergio was doing a great job in that car. He won races in that car. Now, granted, that after he signed his extension for 2 years, that's when the wheels kind of fell off, so to speak. So, maybe getting rid of him wasn't such a great idea. I mean, they need to go back to the drawing board and figure out a setup or figure out something with that car to where someone can drive it, do something with it. Because it's embarrassing to have, I would imagine, it's embarrassing to have one car running top 3, top 4, and the other one tailing Charlie. So, not good. Not good at all. But speaking of not good, I don't know if anyone was watching the IndyCar race this weekend at Thermal Club, which, by the way, this sidebar, that is one of the most boring racetracks to watch a race. I mean, it is unbelievably boring. And I saw some people on a thread talking about, well, it just seems that way because there's no crowds there, there's no stands, because it's essentially a private club for wealthy people to go drive. And now they've turned it into an IndyCar race. But that's not the case. The race is just boring. I mean, it's just no way around it. It's pretty boring. Pato Award led basically the whole race. Ended up losing it at the end to Alex Palou due to tire strategy. Once Palou caught Award, I mean, there was no fighting it. He was just faster just because of the tires. But anyways, my main point about the race this weekend is they had a blackout. Fox had a blackout where the feed cut, and then they went into a bunch of commercial breaks, or a big extended commercial break, and then they broke into the NASCAR feed, so you had to watch NASCAR instead of IndyCar until they got it fixed. Which, if you're watching IndyCar, I know in my perspective, the last thing I want to see is NASCAR. But no dig at NASCAR. I mean, if you like NASCAR, you like NASCAR. I personally don't care for modern NASCAR, but that's just my opinion. But even with as boring as that race was, it's unacceptable, in my opinion, in 2025, to have your entire feed black out. And the excuse that was given this morning was that the 90-degree temperatures made a circuit breaker trip, and so everyone at the facility lost power. Okay. But is this the only race that's ever been broadcast in 90-degree temperatures? Call me crazy, but I don't think that it is. Fox, here's the wild thing, okay, is that Fox they've won awards for their NASCAR coverage in the past. Because their NASCAR coverage, their race coverage in general, has been fantastic. Up until about, 10 years ago or so. Maybe a little bit longer than that. Well, it's gotten to the point now where, it's every 5 seconds we're going to commercial break. And look, I watch old races, so I know that there are more commercial breaks now in IndyCar, in NASCAR, any live sporting event, for the most part. There are way more commercials now. And I don't know if they think that no one's watching. I don't know. That can't be it. But I don't know what it is. I don't know why they do that, but they're obviously losing money somewhere. More commercials is more money. So I don't understand that for the life of me, but just like I said, the blackout, the not being prepared, not having a backup, not having a plan B. If you lose live feed, you should have a backup. You're Fox. Unless they just thought that like 5 people were watching the IndyCar race because NASCAR was on at the same time, so we'll be fine. Let's send our skeleton crew out there to Thermal to cover the IndyCar race. Just not being prepared. Honestly, it's amateur. It's amateur. It's something that should never happen. And I would wager, given that Roger's the owner of IndyCar nowadays, that probably won't ever happen again. I hope it never happens again. Because that was just embarrassing, in my personal opinion. And then I wanted to touch on, I'm not going to say who it was, okay, but someone I saw on social media said that Elvin Evans, who ended up winning the Safari Rally this weekend, or this week, said that his performance reminded them of Sebastian Ogier. Okay. And Sebastian Ogier is a living legend in rally, for those who don't follow it. The guy either wins every time he shows up, or is at least in the hunt for the win, pretty much, unless something crazy happens. But here's the thing, and if y'all watch my previous video, you know that how I felt about the whole protest against cussing or whatever. But I still watched it. I still watched the rally because I love rally, so I'm going to watch it regardless. But I'll say this, not to take away from what Elvin did this week, because he stayed steady the entire week. No major mistakes. The car stayed together. But I will say that pretty much everyone behind him had problems, whether that be accidents or mechanical failures. If I'm not mistaken, Oitanik finished second in the rally, and he had mechanical failures early that put him behind. So, like I said, Elvin did a really good job, but, you can kind of put that on everyone else, too, kind of not making it difficult for him. Let's just put it that way. Like I said, not take away from Elvin because he's a good driver. He always has been. But you can tell from history, because they're teammates, when Ogier shows up, there's not really much of a comparison there because Ogier is just faster. So to try to compare both of them and say that Elvin and Ogier are similar, maybe only in the fact that they both drive for Toyota. That's the only similarities I see between both of them, because Ogier on a bad day is still better than everybody else. It was the same way with Loeb too. Loeb hasn't been in a rally car in a couple of years. I mean, if he came back today, he'd still be just as good. And it's the same way with Ogier. Can you say that about Elvin Evans? If he were to step away today and start running part-time, could you say with a straight face that if he hopped back in the car after a month or two away, that he'd be right back on it? Be running for the win? Yeah, I don't think he could. I really don't think he could. So it's not a fair comparison. And like I said, he did a great job. So congratulations to him for winning that. The Safari Rally, is, in my opinion, has far surpassed the Acropolis Rally in Greece as the toughest rally on the schedule. For the longest time growing up, the Acropolis Rally was known for being a car killer. And I'm not talking about crashes, just pure mechanical failures from how rough those stages are with big rocks and all that kind of stuff. I think Kenya and the Safari Rally, way rougher than anything else that they do. I mean, that place is... And then you have like the random rains that come in, which happened this week. Just torrential downpour and just soaks everything, turns it into mud, and then the rain's gone, after 10 minutes. I mean, it lasted longer than that, but you know what I'm saying? Normally, when you're out there, it'll come, boom, real quick, gone, just enough to make conditions miserable. And that's what happened. So it was cool to see those guys. I will never not get past how cool it looks to see Yaris's, I-20s, Pumas going through stages and stuff that you would imagine a truck would have to go through in order to make it. And you've got rally cars. I mean, it's nuts to me. I've watched it my whole life, and it's still just crazy to me to watch. When you take a step back, it's just like anything else. When you start watching it, you get kind of comfortable with it. You don't think about it from that perspective because you watch it all the time. You see it all the time, so it's not crazy. But no, it is. But it's cool to see. As far as NASCAR goes, I think Kyle Larson won the race. I watched the last little bit on a highlight reel of what happened, and Alex Bowman, in pretty typical fashion, threw it away at the end, trying to run the high line, put it in the fence, and then Kyle passed him, won the race. I know, shocking, right? But from what I saw from the highlight reel, it was a snooze fest, which they reconfigured Homestead in 2003, I believe it was. Prior to the reconfiguration, it was essentially like a big version of New Hampshire. It was New Hampshire, but blown up. The corners had some banking in them, but, they were basically flat. And then they came in there and they turned it into like your standard mile and a half. And I think, personally, because I've watched it since 2003, that track is one of the most boring on the schedule. You put that with IndyCar and Thermal Club, that's how I feel about Homestead. It's a snooze fest. You had a track that had genuine character, and then for some reason, I guess you wanted more eyeballs on the race, and so you turn it into a cookie cutter mile and a half, and it's exactly that. It's a cookie cutter mile and a half. It's pretty much, unless something crazy happens, which may have happened once or twice over the years, it is boring. And the fact that it was the championship deciding racetrack for the longest time, it's kind of like how Phoenix is now. Phoenix is like an absolute snooze fest. But see, the difference though between Homestead And Phoenix is Homestead's like that no matter what type of car they're using. Phoenix at least used to be fun to watch. With the Gen 4, I'll say maybe even with the COT, it was entertaining to watch. But you know, a lot of the snooze fest aspect nowadays comes down to the car, which is just terrible. You might could fix that with horsepower, but still it'd be a stretch because I mean, it's a Trans Am car they're trying to pass off as NASCAR. You know, Tony Stewart said that in his opinion he wouldn't have chosen a sports car manufacturer to build a stock car. That's a good way of putting it. You know, one of Jim France's I don't know. I just don't like the car. You know, I won't talk crap about anybody, but I just don't like the car. I think that has a lot to do with some of these races being boring. Homestead to be specific. But it is cool to see Kyle Larson win. You know, I used to work for Hendrick, and so anytime one of those cars wins, it's pretty cool. That was a good place to work for. I don't have any issues with them or whatever. So it's cool to see those cars win still, whichever one it is. I was hoping that Bowman would pull it out, but you know, he ran into the fence and gave it away, so it's tough to watch. I would talk about Supercross, but it was Chase Sexton stunk up the show. I mean, it was, if I'm not mistaken, so it's Triple Crown event in Birmingham, my hometown, by the way, which is cool. Where they have the track in Birmingham is inside a football field, which is brand new. They just finished construction on that a year or two ago, maybe more, but not much. And so it's relatively new, and the track's kind of cool. It's a little cramped, you know, because it's a football field. You're trying to fit a Supercross track in that. It's a little cramped, but still cool nonetheless. They're in Birmingham. Yeah, I grew up, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes north of Birmingham, a little place called Gardendale. But Birmingham was the closest metropolitan area. So, you know, with all your clubs and all that other kind of stuff. And when you're young and dumb and want to go out and do that kind of thing, that was the closest place. So, went to Birmingham a lot growing up. Never in a million years would I have thought that big empty lot sat there empty forever would end up being a football stadium, and that there would be Supercross run there. But I'm glad that happened. So it was a Triple Crown event, so they ran 3 motos with 450 and 250. And Chase Sexton stunk up the show in 450, has smoked everybody. Actually they had a week off over the past week, and Chase has had a lot of issues in the past year, I would say. Every time he's out front, it would seem like he would choke, he'd crash, make stupid, silly mistakes, give races away. Well, it looks like he got that cleaned up. I don't know if he was having mental issues off track or something was going on, but it appears as though he's gotten that cleaned up. So, cool to see. Yeah, just going to watch and see if he can keep that up for the rest of the season. I hope so. I hate seeing guys psych themselves out, you know. He's got the bike and the team, KTM Red Bull, to get it done, win the championship. It's going to be between him and Cooper Webb. Everybody else that's really the mainstays is out with injuries. So it's going to be between them. But anyways, just wanted to round up everything that happened this weekend, give everybody updates, my opinion on it. And then tomorrow we'll do something different, but just wanted to fill everybody in. So if you found that interesting, you like listening to me ramble, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you disagree with anything I say, leave a comment. Turn on notifications. Share this video. Tell everybody. It's much appreciated. Next week we're going to make a post about our giveaway, so keep an eye out for that. We'll do something, like first 5 or 6 people that comment on it, we'll give stuff away. So I said I was going to do it once we hit 2,000. We've had a lot of stuff going on. behind the scenes at home and stuff. So haven't been able to do it yet, but next week we're going to get into it. So keep an eye out for that. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Love you guys, and we'll see you next time.
És 100 fölfele. 100 fölfele, jobb 2 tempó, 20-ra bal 2 tempó, 25-ra bal 2 tempó, 25-re bal 2 szűk, és bal 2, majd 50-re jobb 2, itt a bal 2, és 50